like now with the headline, it's very odd with the headline to just come across all the newspapers. Like there is a legitimate state interest in limiting recognition of marriage to persons of opposite sex only. Now that is, I don't know, like that has become like one headline which each newspaper is carrying out and saying that okay, the government stance is like this. Why is there why is there an aversion towards same-sex marriage and things like that? So, what do you feel like? Is it already an inherent kind of a thought process which we always have, or there is some kind of a backing as well with regard to all these claims?
See, I guess when it comes to things like this, there's several factors that come into play. Firstly, as you stated, there is obviously some kind of inherent thinking, because if I'm not wrong, what was stated according to that judgment was that it doesn't suit the Indian family structure, if
Hmm.
I'm not wrong, right?
The centers plea actually, yeah.
Yeah, the centers. So that itself shows how we as a community and we as a society are made to think. Because for us, a family structure is made up of a man, woman, and 10, 15 kids. Okay.
Hmm.
So, that's the kind of family structure mentality that we've been brought up with. And naturally, that would have a part to play. And when the government itself takes a stand in such things, don't you think it would have a huge impact on most of the population?
That's because we are brought up in that way, right? Example, even the scriptures also. If I can quote, like let's look at it from a religious point of view. Example, if I can quote the Bible itself, there is a verse called Leviticus 18 verse 20. Okay, now listeners, we're going into religious territory, so if anyone gets triggered here in this, so sorry for that. But then anyway, you must not lie with a man as with a woman. That is an abomination. And marriage is basically like in Genesis 2 or 24. It's like that is why a man leaves his father and mother and is united to be to his wife, and they become one flesh. So that's basically
Okay.
the religious connotation. Like, what do you say, Nitish? Like, is it like there is some kind of a backing with regard to this, with thinking of that sort, right?
Yeah,
Because yeah.
obviously. The thing is that we are, as an Indian, if you talk about from the perspective of India, Indian society, or more specifically from Hindu religion point of view,
Hmm.
if you go by the definitions of the law, right? By what is an Hindu marriage? It's a union between a man and a woman.
Yes.
Specifically, they have stated this,
Yes. Yes.
and this definition has some sort of historical backing. See, the first problem with regard to this is that our society never actually from if I talk about from post-independence period, our society actually never recognized homosexuality in majority, or at a platform which is which is very outspoken, you can say, or which is very which society finds some kind of importance.
Hmm.
They actually believe like the idea is like, okay, a family should be consisting of a man and a woman and their children. That is the definition of a family. That is the understanding of an ordinary man in this country, like how a family should be. And not to my surprise, judges are also humans.
Ah, of course.
So if you look at the judgments of the old judges, right? And judgments. See, the thing is that every person has his own views and perspectives. You remember 2 or 3 weeks back there was a uh, Karnataka High Court judgment only that regarding there was a girl who was raped, and she was questioned as to why she didn't file the
Huh.
report in the at the
In
night
hospital.
only,
Yeah,
and
I
she went
remember.
there. She went there and she slept, and after that in the morning she filed the report.
Hmm.
So the perspective was like she should like
It's very unbecoming of a
some
woman, I
kind
guess. It's very
of
unbecoming of a
right,
woman.
unbecoming of an Indian woman.
Ah.
So not only limited to homosexuality, every aspect of related to gender has some kind of blockings.
Hmm.
Blockings in the sense they find it right, and many people support it. It's a question of morality at the end.
No, but as law
And
students as well, because since we refer to the Black's Law Dictionary also, I just happened to just search marriage, the definition of marriage. It says that marriage,
yeah,
as distinguished from the agreement to marry and from the act of becoming married, is the civil status, condition, or relation of one man and one woman united in law for life for the discharge of to each other and the community of duties legally incumbent on these on those whose association is founded on the distinction of law. So there too we have the backing of what we call as the primary source of the legal dictionary itself trying to stay the same. So didn't we already like since we already have been accustomed to that, something doesn't say that like maybe I don't know, new generation, new thoughts, new ideas. I don't know. That's the thing.
But don't you think after the recent, what do you say, a part of the section 377 of the IPC was amended to
Hmm.
allow sexual acts between people of the same gender? Don't you think that we should move in that direction? Why are they taking a footstep back now?
Okay, now I might sound a little okay, but like we have recognized that they are
Okay.
like each one cannot be deprived of their rights, but then our common notion of marriage is that it's a union of husband and wife, and
Yeah, but
it's what is
just
the
like
obligation of
how,
marriage for a person of the same gender, be it gay marriage or in lesbian marriage as well? What is the obligation of a marriage as such? Like because marriage is technically the one bit like what we have been taught about and what we have always learned about is the union between two pairs, husband and wife. How will that be distinguished if it's a like let's take property rights or let's take even several other rights as well if we are able to recognize the marriage of same sex, how will that be taken into consideration then if we are going to go ahead, because that means our laws will be completely different, then you have to change several aspects of the law as such.
we have to.
I think,
We have to.
yeah. Nitish, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, see, the thing is that how our society, one of the major function of marriage is reproduction. That's how our society thinks.
Yeah.
And if the reproduction purpose is not fulfilled, then there is that is one of the basic requirement that why you have chosen the institution of marriage.
Hmm.
You have
Okay.
certain legal duties, you have certain responsibilities, and you enjoy something out of that union,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Under Muslim law, it's a contract, but under Hindu law, there were certain other things also added, right? Like
Sacrament.
you perform certain kind of rituals only
Hmm.
if you are married,
Yeah.
right? There were certain kind of yajanas and all during ancient times, but throughout, I mean, modern times, now the meaning of marriage has changed. People, the basic understanding, what why you need to marry is that you have to raise a family and you need to pass your genes on further,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
That is one of the basic requirement that why a person should marry and raise his family.
Hmm.
Now, with regard to homosexuality, this is a barrier. Until and unless you are not capable of passing your genes to next generation, the society is thinking that you are not eligible to get married.
Hmm.
I think I
So,
can completely agree with what Nitish is saying here because even when you look at couples that are unable to conceive, that when the cases of impotency and everything like that, infertility, they're also looked down upon in our society, saying that okay, fine, you guys can't have a child, you're worthless and things like that. So I think coming from that stereotype, I can completely agree with the kind of perspective you're trying to put forth here.
yeah,
But how do you fight the conflict between religions? For example, I would say that I'm pretty much trying to be the more devout kind of a Christian. Or example, each one of you also would be following the practices of what your faith says. But then how would that be like? It'll be a direct contradiction with what we're trying to apply here, right? Because we're trying to See,
Joel, I think when it comes to how the modern trend of religion is going about, I feel like religion is looked at more of a convenience rather than a strict observance. And I'm not trying to trigger any devout religious people here, but all I'm trying to say is that these days, in every religion, there are of course certain rules and regulations that must be followed by all its followers. But how today's society has evolved is that people follow only what's convenient to them,
okay.
and when they don't agree with something, it becomes a whole religious matter. But there's certain things that are avoided and certain things that are omitted when it comes to religion as well. So I think keeping that in mind, we can also state that okay, fine, the religious angle is not the only angle to this. It's not because there are a lot of devout religious people in the world today that homosexuality is looked down upon.
Mhm.
There are other aspects to look into. It is that people actually don't understand what exactly homosexuality is. Like the people who prefer to be, I mean, the majority of the people who just understand the relation between a man and a woman, and they don't actually want to understand what is a gay relationship all about, what is a lesbian relationship all about.
Mm.
And they try, there was certain kind of stigmas and fears attached to the principle. Like if I have a gay friend, right, and if you look at my friends who don't want to understand these kind of relationship, they perceive it as some kind of disease. Like if I roam around with them, I could be a gay, I could become a gay. So that kind of understanding I have seen in people, like they have this kind of mindset. Then at another level, you have understanding of masculinity and femininity,
Okay.
Of course.
right? That is something society prefers and society deviates. People usually tend or mend their behavior in the way society respects them, in the way society gives them approval,
Okay.
right? Why do you think these, like, I'm not targeting anything, but people working on their imperfections, right? Like the beard oils, or something that will make you more, that will
Masculine.
make you look more masculine, like the body
Exactly.
structures,
True.
and something that can make you more feminine. Because
Exactly.
the mindset is that you need approval, you need constant approval from society, that can make you feel more happy, right?
Mm.
And homosexuals are actually something that people don't want to fit them in society.
Yeah.
They perceive them
Because
as something foreigners. They perceive them something like, okay, they are strangers and they are very limited in number. And even if they exist, we will kind of present them like they don't exist at all. We will kind of create an environment like that, and that's
there's
why
also
they don't didn't get
yeah,
any kind of good employment, and they face discrimination. And because gender is something that people don't understand, like it is something very personal, they try to make it something coming in public domain.
Mm.
people
And
fail to
you will,
understand the differentiation between sexual orientation and biological sex. And that's the problem. That's where things arise. And like you said, the stigmatization of how men should behave in society, how women should behave in society, all these factors would sort of accumulate and obviously come down upon this minority within our community.
yeah.
But
And
what if
also being a
also?
very religious
Yeah.
country,
Mm.
having a vast majority of people following Hinduism, Islam, and Christianity, and people who observe certain laws of these religions as well, they will also sort of act like as a pressure group on these minority institutions.
No, but what if I say this one thing? Okay? Like you are restricted to your beliefs. You have your own, like example. If you want, like if you are a particular sexual orientation, or you want to practice in a particular way, uh, what, like, if I consider it as sin, but if I don't impose my belief on him, does that make me a homophobe, or does that make me someone who is against that particular kind of a belief system? For example, I might say, yes, it's sin for me, but I am the one to condemn you because you are that particular relationship. But then, can that be ethically and morally wrong if you compare it to societal standards? Because basically, I'm just quoting what my faith says. Like, it's sin. But I too can't condemn someone, or I can't say you can't live like this. You have to go outside the city and go live like separate colonies as gay people go live as. No, I can't say that. You have your own rights. You have your own practices. But then, will I be termed as a particular individual who is against gay people, or against those who kind of are
See,
on the same balance? Yeah.
I think, Joel, we've progressed so much as a society that the one thing that we need to keep in mind is live and let live.
Okay.
Don't you think?
Yeah. Like they can live, but then I'm not. Okay, it comes into that particularly. Yeah, I understand this. Yeah.
Can I just
Yeah.
give you
Yeah.
an view on this? See, the thing is that here we are discussing about the state's right to interfere
Hmm.
in the marriage institution of same sex, right?
Yeah.
And what your religion or what our faith is ordering us to do, or what it is allowing us to do, and what it is banning us to do, or what it prohibits us to do, is completely depending upon the individual, right?
Hmm.
The state has
Absolutely.
nothing to do, state
But
has
the
nothing
state
to do
can
with
act
that.
on, but the state can act on matters of morality, public order, and those kind of aspects as well, right? So
Yeah,
that's a bad thing to do.
until and unless your faith is not harming anyone, right?
Hmm.
Your religion is not harming anyone, your practice is not harming anyone, and your body itself,
Okay.
the state has nothing to do with your faith.
Hmm.
But once it get into public domain, or once it has treated it has created some kind of chaos in society, then the state will come into picture.
Hmm. No, because even in
Like
the,
there was
yeah, you're
in
saying.
law and society, we have read certain practices, right?
Hmm.
That created chaos in society, like the cow slaughter, that actually
Creates public order and those kind of aspects.
towards
Yeah.
the sentiments of certain religion.
Hmm.
And at that time, the courts developed the essential practice doctrine
Hmm.
Yeah, but
for
are you guys
the.
aware that India is one of the largest exporters of beef?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
also. But now
But
it's.
I was
So,
just taking
like I
an
said,
example.
it is
I'm
a matter of convenience.
by example to explain the role of faith and your personal faith, and the how much the state can interfere in that.
Hmm.
The problem
Absolutely.
here is that if we get a legal approval, if we get state's approval for same sex marriage, right, then the obligation left to the people will be only moral and not legal.
Okay.
like
Exactly.
the like the decriminalization of section 377, people can now live in relationship, right? Same sex marriage, same sex people can live wherever they want. But the
Yeah.
problem is that they cannot register their marriage, they cannot
They
form
can't
a union
solemnize
of,
the marriage.
Hmm.
because there is no law under which they would be able to register.
Right.
And the problem is that if you buy a flat, for instance, if you buy a flat in a society, right, you are
Hmm.
a gay couple, or say a lesbian couple, the society will not I mean that particular housing society will not allow you to rent that house. But that's your legal right, you can fight for it in the court. But what you are fighting for is social stigma and against morality of some people or some group.
Hmm.
That is completely depending upon individual to individual. You are fighting against a group, but there is no hindrance from the state side.
Okay.
State is not forcing you to not to live with that person.
So, if
Hmm.
I hear what you're saying correctly, is that the removal of the legal barrier to same-sex marriage would only then be upon acceptance to the society. It would become more of an individual thing because
Yeah.
the state is not poking its nose into that matter anymore.
Yes.
I completely agree.
Yeah, even several states have also taken some kind of proactive steps for transgenders. Example, in Noida, the one of the metro stations by the UP government is a Pride. It's called as a Pride metro station. So then they're trying to recognize the transgenders role in society as well, or even the Kochi Metro as well, wherein there's a period of time wherein they were employing those of the transgender community to be a part of the the entire process. But I think the transgenders as a whole in India is kind of accepted because they have been considered as ones who bless the child and basically as a common as a part of society as such. But then there is still an aversion towards those who are of the same.
Homosexuality.
Yeah. So yeah,
That is again dependent upon society. No, state has no role.
Okay, guys, let me give you a hypothetical situation. Let's say today, the Supreme Court rules in favor of, homosexual relationships, and we have a law that is actually drafted and passed in the parliament that allows for homosexual marriage. What do you think is going to happen in the society?
I think it'll remain the same like how they are because even when it was decriminalized, I don't think people's mindset have changed, and I don't think it'll ever change as such. And because they're driven by the faith, so that's one thing. I don't think that even if the court or even if that is a law, accept make because actually even in the center's plea also it actually states that for the state to legalize same-sex marriage, it is not the purview of the court, but it has to be taken by the legislature. With regard to same-sex marriage as such. But I don't know how far we can be very practical in society. I don't know of today, and you will find a lot of aversions towards it as such. Let's say.
If you take my perspective, things will not change suddenly. Like you, on one day, you have just drafted a legislation and passed in the
I'm
parliament.
just giving you a hypothetical situation.
Yeah, but and the other thing is that just making a law on the marriage will not be sufficient. You have to give them property rights. You have to give them succession rights. You have to draft all these. Either you have to make the amendments in the existing laws, in the existing Hindu laws, Muslim laws, and whatever religion they belong to. And other thing is that you have to define homosexuality in the religious, in the personal laws. That is a very, very challenging task because see, being a homosexual in India is itself a challenge.
True.
Forget about religion. First thing is they have to fight against this homosexual discrimination, and then they have to be in the definition of the particular religion they belong to. Whether they are Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Christian, any religion they belong to. And other thing is that even after, and suppose they get recognition in the laws and everything is sorted from legal point of view. Still, if you consider, right, so will they be able to perform the marriage by the rituals that Hindus do or by the rituals that Muslims do? Because in the very definition of the rituals, in the very definition of, you have Saptapati, right? You have 7 fairas around the fire. So will Hindus allow, or the family members allow you to take 7 fairas with your partner?
Absolutely.
See, but again, a marriage is actually, you are restricted to do, you can do what you want in the 4 corners of your room, but since marriage is more of a public declaration of your union, isn't there a justification by the state then? Because since it's a public declaration, you might have several communities who might come forward and say no, we can't do it, because it's basically they might say since it's a public declaration, it goes against our faith as such. What you do in the room is different, but what you do outside is, I don't know. Won't there be a conflict there also then? Because marriage is not a private matter; it's more of a public. It's more of a public. You go register.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I completely agree because even when you're registering your marriage, you have to keep your photo there in the marriage registrar's office and keep it there for 30 days. So anyone who has any objections can come forward. Think about what kind of a store it'll create.
If I give a loophole, right? Okay, you have a special marriage act under which homosexuals can marry each other, right? You just have to register the marriage, and you just uh, exchange the rings or create some kind of procedure. So most of the personal laws have a backing of custom,
Hmm.
that how the rituals have developed. So how a particular law will develop a ritual that has no custom backing? Will that be possible for the state to do?
Hmm.
But don't you
Because
think the
if a
creation of
ritual
like
is
a
created
completely
by the state, if a ritual is created by the state, then automatically the Supreme Court will be filled out with the petitions challenging that the constitutionality of that ritual.
Hmm.
Because
but as you
in
stated, it doesn't have to be a religious thing, right?
yeah, marriage is something, whether you admit it or not, has certain kind of religious aspect involved
Of
in it.
course, but I'm just talking about with respect to this in particular, about the homosexual marriage that you suggested that okay, fine, and maybe add it to the Special Marriage Act, and it could only be limited to like a court marriage, and getting the marriage registered there. So if the scope of it is limited to that, don't you think all the legal challenges will be taken care of right there?
Kind of, but there is no guarantee actually. John.
See, like again, like those who recognize themselves as homosexual, they too want to be recognized as a part of that particular faith, I guess, because they too want to be considered as Muslim or Hindu or Christian, despite of their orientation. But then I don't know if that the church as an institution or the board or the Muslim board or even the Hindu community as such can kind of have a power to say like you like can restrict you as such if you can say so, because though it is I don't know
No, they can't.
yeah,
After the 377 judgment, they can't.
yeah,
But if you ask them to marry under their ritual,
mhm,
they will stop you. They
yeah,
will train you doing
huh,
that.
Yeah, because that requires the holy communion of a man and a woman, right? That's
Yeah.
where the whole problem begins and ends.
so I think
I was reading some articles on this Delhi High Court's, the center put forward their viewpoint on same-sex marriage, right? Their submission, and what's the reaction of activists who supported LGBTQ community.
hmm,
So one of the stance or argument they gave was like, uh, see, marriage is not only meant for to make kids. Marriage is something like marriage is something that gives you certain binding rights, certain duties, and actually try to give you a strength, give strength to your relationship in the society.
mhm,
And if I love a person, right, and I, even if I don't have the capacity to be a child, biologically not possible,
hmm,
still I have a right to live with that person with dignity
True.
in the society,
hmm,
because I have and if I want a kid, right, if I want a child, I can adopt. They suggested this, but then again, homosexuals are not allowed to adopt child, because for that, for adoption law, what adoption law says that only a father, only a man and a woman can adopt a child.
hmm.
That's another major set of problems that homosexuals will be facing if we don't enact a law on that particular aspect.
Yeah, and I think with that we sort of come towards the end of this discussion. And Nitish, we thank you so much for your valuable insights into this. And if I would like to just reiterate a few points that you made, that legalizing homosexual marriage isn't just a, unidimensional thing. There's several other things that you need to take care of, like the adoption laws, the personal laws, and as Joel stated, the property laws. So this is a multi-headed hydra dragon, if you may. You cut off one head and two more might pop up.
Hmm.
So with that, I think we can sort of conclude this discussion. What do you think, Joel? If you had anything to add to that?
Yeah, it's pretty much it. Well, I think it has been a normal common notion that marriage is kind of like s- it gives you the right to right to procreate. Basically, it allows you to have to bear children because it's kind of like a license to go and bear children. Or else again there also we often often have heard that you can't have sex before marriage, or you can't bear children out of wedlock. There again, religion itself kind of gives a backing that you have to marry and then bear children. So I think, yeah, all these conflicts will come and go, and it will come out of this. So I think that comes to the end of the podcast, and I like to thank Nitish once again for coming here, and also to all the viewers out there, do comment on down below as to what you feel with regard to the entire the center's plea to the High Court as well. And also stay tuned to our podcast on Spotify, Anchor, YouTube, IGTV, and other platforms as well. And do like and share, and also do if you would like to share any more ideas or any collaborative thought process as such, do let us know. And thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you.